Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. A man keeps hanging from a scaffolding about 100 feet above the ground. He paints walls for his daily wages. That's his idea of making a living. His counterpart has on his painting skills a little and works on a contract basis. That's another idea of making a living. Another has learned to drive and has got himself employed as a driver in the businessman's house. He works for about 14 hours a day for a reasonable monthly salary. That's his idea of making a living. A smarter one got himself employed as a driver in a corporate, thus entitling himself to other perks and benefits. That's another idea of making a living. One uses his culinary skills to be employed as a cook in a house for a monthly salary, while another sets up his own roadside joint and earns his daily profits. They are both just different ideas of making a living. Notice that all the above mentioned people have an idea of making a living which does not presuppose any education or investment. Your idea of making a living could have been to be a salesman, his to be a software professional. Her idea of making a living could have been to be an entrepreneur, his to join the family business. Of course, there are those who believe in the idea that there are no opportunities in this world to make a living. Let us realize that even the greatest of industrial enterprises were also once just an idea. Every revolution and every social organization was once only an idea. This very book you are holding in your hand was once just an idea. Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. However, will that idea feed millions or just your own 6-inch hunger pouch? Will the idea earn you a pittance or will it generate crores? It all depends on the mindset of the person in whose mind the idea is born and what he does with that idea. The bottom line is, you plus your idea can change the world. With my loved ones, I am what I always was. The greatest of all fulfillments is to fill your life with accomplishments and then to be able to say, my results have not corrupted the core of my being. At the core, I am always what I always was. One of the greatest joys in life is to live life as a man above man and yet walk as a man among the men. Let nothing of the outside touch the core of your inside. These were some of my concluding words at the annual spiritual retreat. A few hours later, we arrived at the Mumbai airport. We were a group of 30 people. I happened to bump into an old friend with whom I had lost touch. It was almost a decade since we had met, and he was not aware of the developments in my life. On hearing that we were returning from a spiritual retreat, he was overcome by a crazy thought. Salute me and prove that you are still the same whole friend, he said. Being the last person to be other people conscious, I instantaneously saluted him. I know how much love and respect those 30 friends of mine have for me. So, I was not surprised to see expressions of deep hurt on their faces. However, it was a moment of great victory for my old friend. All he wanted was the same old friend, not some spiritually aligned being. The happiness I saw on his face said it all. One day, my son called me up and asked me to take him out for dinner. I explained to him that it would not be possible as I had to finish writing my regular column, Awakening, for Frozen Thoughts by evening. Without the slightest pause, he shot back, You awaken your people tomorrow, take me out for a dinner today. Your parents want a son, not a management guru. Your spouse would rather have you with all your vulnerabilities, not a zero-defect holistic being. Your children want a father, not the father of the nation. Haven't the two classic characters, Superman and Spider-Man, taught us this? The two heroes were as vulnerable as any person, hesitant to even propose to the girls they liked. Yet, they rose to the occasion whenever the situation demanded. I will wear my uniform and rise to the occasion in my professional world, but I will always remember that there is a time for me to remove my uniform. After all, people at home want a soul, not an evolved soul. With my loved ones, I am what I always was. When ego comes, everything else goes. When ego goes, everything else comes. The first major thrill after one learns cycling is to take both hands off the handlebar when the cycle is still in motion. More than the act itself, it is the fact that others notice you doing it that is important. In fact, eyes wander with longing to see if others have noticed you perform the act. Standing on the footboard of a bus or train is considered a demonstration of great courage during adolescence. The craving is not to perform the act but to get noticed. Everyone goes through this phase of life where the ego drives one to do anything and everything only to get noticed and recognized. It is a phase when good is good only when it gains attention, even bad is good if it can draw attention, and ironically, even good is bad if it fails to attract attention. The ego survives on gaining attention, but then one must outgrow that phase of life. By its very nature, ego needs feeding and hence it is a perpetual beggar. The problem with ego is that when ego is fed, you struggle with a superiority complex, and when ego is starved, you suffer from an inferiority complex. Either way, it robs you of your peace of mind. When ego comes, everything else goes. When ego goes, everything else comes. How many precious relationships have been lost in order to satisfy one's ego? While you should have dropped ego and saved the relationship, you ended up dropping the relationships and saving ego. Ego is never worth the losses. How many golden opportunities have you missed while you were busy servicing your ego? Every moment is heavy, every situation is nerve-wracking, every interaction is tense. An ego-filled heart is always walking on fire. Never can there be a moment of marriage between ego and ease. A crow carrying a piece of meat found itself being chased by all the other birds. It dropped the piece of meat and all the birds went after the meat. Now, alone in the sky, the crow remarked, I am losing that piece of meat. I gain the freedom of the skies. There is enormous freedom in letting your ego go. Without happiness, there is no life. Without dissatisfaction, there is no growth. Be happily dissatisfied. She has always admired her father for his discipline. Now she is married. She expects her husband to be disciplined, which she believes is an essential virtue. In discipline, her husband never makes a grade. She is dissatisfied with him and he is frustrated with her. My mother has always been honest and transparent. The problem with you is that you never tell me everything about your life. The husband complains to his wife, look at your brother's handwriting. It is a work of art and look at yours. The mother nags the daughter. In my earlier organization, we never operated like this, cribs the new general manager. In America, we don't have these issues, cries the NRI about India. Expectation is not the problem. Benchmarking expectation is. She gives her father a 10 out of 10 on discipline and is not satisfied with her husband who is tottering at 4 or 5. See, for him, 5 is his 100% score. Given his nature, temperament, upbringing and conditioning, he will never make it beyond 5 on discipline. This is him and this will be him. There must be some other quality in which the husband is a perfect 10, whereas her father won't make the necessary grade. The wife may never be as transparent as the mother, but she may be very selfless in financially aiding the family. The daughter may outperform the son in singing. You believe this organization had better growth prospects than your previous organization, and that's why you are here. After all, India does not have some of the issues that the world has. No one is inferior to others on all counts, and no one is superior to the rest in all measures. We all have our pluses and we all have our minuses. No one is zero defect. No one is all defect. Stop focusing on isolated qualities. Start relating to the whole being. However, there is a twist in the tale. While being dissatisfied with others makes me unhappy, being dissatisfied with myself helps me grow. When I benchmark others with my expectations, it leaves me dissatisfied with them and thus affects my happiness. When I benchmark myself with my expectations, the dissatisfaction created propels my growth and development. When I demand a 10 out of 10 from myself on excellence, integrity, purposefulness, character, competence, it shows me where I stand and where I need to go. The gap becomes the scope of my transformation. When I demand a 10 out of 10 from the world, it affects the quality of my relationship with the world. So, on all matters, rate the world on 5 and rate yourself on 10. Not that the world is any less capable or that you are a superhuman, but because without happiness, there is no life. So, rate the world on 5. Without dissatisfaction, there is no growth. So rate yourself on 10. Thus, you will be happily dissatisfied. I am happy with the way you love me. For my part, I will find more and more ways to love you. The saline waters of the ocean, the contaminated drains, the stinking ponds, the stagnant lakes, from anywhere when water evaporates into the above and comes down again as rains, it is pure drinking water. Similarly, when man connects with the force above, self-purification happens. Man's thoughts, feelings, and even the being are purified when he connects with the divine. When prayers go up, blessings come down.